He who has seen everything, I will make known to the lands. I will teach about him who experienced all things alike. Anu greeted him the totality of knowledge of all. He saw the secret, discovered the hidden. He brought information of the time before the flood. He went on a distant journey, pushing himself to exhaustion, but then was brought to peace. He carved on a stone stela of all of his toils and built the wall of Uruk Haven, the wall of the sacred Iana temple, the holy sanctuary. Look at its walls, which gleams like copper. Inspect its inner wall, the likes of which no one can equal. Take hold of the threshold stone. It dates from ancient times. Go close to the Iana temple, the residence of Ishtar, such as no later king or man ever equaled. Go up on the wall of Uruk and walk around. Examine its foundation. Inspect its brickwork thoroughly. Is it not even the core of the brick structure made of kiln-fired brick? And did not the 7 sages themselves lay out its plans? 1 league city, 1 league palm gardens, 1 league lowlands, the open area of the Ishtar temple. 3 leagues of the open area of Uruk, the wall encloses. Find the copper tablet box. Open the of its lock of bronze, undo the fastening of its secret opening, take and read out from the lapis lazuli tablet how Gilgamesh went through every hardship. Supreme over other kings, lordly in appearance, he is the hero, born of Uruk, the goring wild bull. He walks out in front, the leader, and walks at the rear, trusted by his companions, mighty net, protector of his people, raging flood wave who destroys even walls of stone, offspring of Lugalbanda. Gilgamesh is strong to perfection, son of the August crow, Rimat Ninsun. Gilgamesh is awesome to perfection. It was he who opened the mountain passes, who dug wells on the flank of the mountain. It was he who crossed the ocean, the vast seas, to the rising sun, who explored the world regions seeking life. It was he who reached, by his own sheer strength, Utanapishtim, the faraway, who restored the sanctuaries or cities that the flood had destroyed, for teeming mankind. Who can compare him in kingliness? Who can say, like Gilgamesh, I am king? Whose name from the day of his birth was called Gilgamesh. 2/3 of him is God, 1/3 of him is human. The great goddess Aruru designed the model for his body. She prepared his form, beautiful, handsomest of men, perfect. He walks around in the enclosure of Uruk like a wild bull. He makes himself mighty, head raised over others. There is no rival who can raise his weapon against him. His fellows stand at the alert, attentive to his orders, and the men of Uruk become anxious. Gilgamesh does not leave a son to his father, day and night. He arrogant. The following lines are interpreted as rhetorical, perhaps spoken by the oppressed citizens of Uruk. Is Gilgamesh the shepherd of Uruk Haven? Is he the shepherd? Bold, eminent, knowing, and wise? Gilgamesh does not leave a girl to her mother, the daughter of the warrior, the bride of the young man. The gods kept hearing their complaints, so the gods of the heavens implored the Lord of Uruk, Anu, you have indeed brought into being a mighty wild bull, head raised. There is no rival who can raise a weapon against him. His fellow stands at the alert, attentive to his orders. Gilgamesh does not leave a son to his father, day and night. He arrogantly. Is he the shepherd of Uruk Haven? Is he their shepherd? Bold, eminent, knowing, and wise. Gilgamesh does not leave a girl to her mother, the daughter of the warrior, the bride of the young man. Anu listened to their complaints, and gods called out to Aruru. It was you, Aruru, who created mankind. Now create a Zikru to it, him. Let him be equal to his Gilgamesh's stormy heart. Let them be a match for each other so that Uruk may find peace. When Aruru heard this, she created within herself the Zikrit of Anu. Aruru washed her hands. She pinched off some clay and threw it into the wilderness. In the wildness, she created valiant Enkidu, born of silence, endowed with strength by Ninurta. His whole body was shaggy with hair. He had a full head of hair like a woman. His locks billowed in profusion like Ashnan. He knew neither people nor settled living, but wore a garment like Sumukan. He ate grasses with the gazelles and jostled at the watering hole with the animals. As with animals, his thirst was slaked with mere water. A notorious trapper came face to face with him opposite the watering hole. At first, a second and a third day he came face to face with him opposite the watering hole. On seeing him, the trapper's face went stark with fear, and he, Enkidu, and his animals drew back home. He was rigid with fear, though rock still. His heart pounded and his face drained of color. He was miserable to the core, and his face looked like one who had made a long journey. The trapper addressed his father, saying, "Father, a certain fellow has come from the mountains. He is the mightiest in the land. His strength is as mighty as the meteorite of Anu. He continually goes over the mountains. He continually jostles at the watering place with the animals. He continually plants his feet opposite the watering place. I was afraid, so I did not go up to him. He filled in the pits that I had dug, wrenched out my traps that I had spread, released from my grasp the wild animals. He does not let me make my rounds in the wilderness." The trapper's father spoke to him, saying, "My son, there lives in Uruk a certain Gilgamesh. There is no one stronger than he. He is as strong as the meteorite of Anu. Go set off to Uruk. Tell Gilgamesh of this man of might. He will give you the harlot Shamhat. Take her with you. The woman will overcome the fellow as if she were strong. When the animals are drinking at the watering place, have her take off her robe and expose her sex. When he sees her, he will draw near to her, and his animals who grew up in his wilderness will be alien to him." He heeded his father's advice. The trapper went off to Uruk. He made the journey, stood inside of Uruk, and declared to Gilgamesh, "There is a certain fellow who has come from the mountains. He is the mightiest in the land. His strength is as mighty as the meteorite of Anu. He continually goes over the mountains. He continually jostles at the watering place with the animals. He continually plants his feet opposite the watering place. I was afraid, so I did not go up to him. He filled in the pits that I had dug, wrenched out my traps that I had spread, released from my grasp the wild animals. He does not let me make my rounds in the wilderness." Gilgamesh said to the trapper, "Go, trapper, bring the harlot Shamhat with you. When the animals are drinking at the watering place, have her take off her robe and expose her sex. When he sees her, he will draw near to her, and his animals who grew up in his wilderness will be alien to him." The trapper went, bringing the harlot Shamhat with him. They set off on the journey, making direct way. On the third day they arrived at the appointed place, and the trapper and the harlot sat down at their posts. A first day and a second they sat opposite the watering hole. The animals arrived and drank at the watering hole. The wild beast arrived and slaked their thirst with water. Then he, Enkidu, offspring of the mountains, who eats grass with the gazelles, came to drink at the watering hole with the animals. With the wild beasts he slaked his thirst with water. Then Shamhat saw him, a primitive, a savage fellow from the depths of the wilderness. "That is he, Shamhat. Release your clenched arms, expose your sex so he can take you in your voluptuousness. Do not be restrained, take his energy. When he sees you, he will draw near to you. Spread out your robe so he can lie upon you and perform for his primitive the task of womankind. His animals who grew up in his wilderness will become alien to him, and his lust will groan over you." Shamhat unclutched her bosom, exposed her sex, and he took in her voluptuousness. She was not restrained, but took his energy. She spread out her robe, and he lay upon her. She performed for the primitive task of womanhood. His lust groaned over her, For 6 days and 7 nights Enkidu stayed aroused and had intercourse with the harlot until he was sated with her charms. But when he turned his attention to his animals, the gazelles saw Enkidu and darted off. The wild animals distanced themselves from his body. Enkidu, his utter depleted body, his knees that wanted to go off with his animals went rigid. Enkidu was diminished. His running was not as before. But then he drew himself up, for his understanding had broadened. Turning around, he sat down at the harlot's feet, gazing into her face, his ears attentive as the harlot spoke. The harlot said to Enkidu, "You are beautiful. Enkidu, you are become like a god. Why do you gallop around the wilderness with the wild beasts? Come, let me bring you into Uruk Haven, to the holy temple, the residence of Anu in Ishtar, the place of Gilgamesh, who is wise to perfection, but who struts his power over the people like a wild bull."